Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Brian's Logic, Chocolate Saiyan, Neil, Sleeping Warrior, the Adam Meakin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
That's
Hey, good
Adam
morning.
the Animal Meakin. Yes.
Hey.
Hello.
There we go.
Brian,
morning,
that's a
good
good
morning.
one, Brian. That's a good one.
And hello to everyone in
Meekin.
hello to everyone in Discord.
Hi.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
Low.
Excellent. The barrage of potato mics saying hello is just what you need after a few days off. Excellent. Good to have you all. Welcome. And welcome to everyone in the audience. There's hopefully going to be lots of new people watching at the moment. So be on your best behaviour, as there's probably some new subscribers watching this live stream. So welcome to all of you who've just subscribed. Massive shout out to Russian Vids, or RV Truth, as his channel name is now known, for shouting me out with such a heartfelt endorsement for me. So really do appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed, Russian Vids. Thank you. can't say more than that really, as it gave me about 500 subscribers. You can't really say fairer than that. Thank you so much. And as I say again, well, welcome to all of you who've just joined and potentially watching this for the first time live. We do a thing called housekeeping typically, and I'd like to rattle our way through it if you're all keen. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge, that's a horizon, formerly known as Earth curve.
No, but we can calculate it if we believe that we're on a sphere.
Is that calculated to a level of calculating it into existence, or just numbers to support your theory?
Yeah, we just calculate it into existence based on anything that we perceive is credible evidence. So we'll just say that if we can calculate, I don't know, anything, we can just calculate it into existence.
Well, what you could do is you could measure a table flat, and then you could pre-assume, due to a mathematical belief that you have, that that table is actually curved at a consistent constant rate. And you could then add the mathematics in, and at the end of your deliberation, that table will be curved. So that's what you could do.
We've experienced that firsthand. So about 3 years ago, we were making videos along with the help of people like Ranty Flat Earth and Jose J.G. Gonzalez to demonstrate that a limitation of an angle against the deck can cause things to disappear from bottom up. That would be to say that you can't resolve the difference between the angle to the floor at the point that the item is sat on the floor and the item itself. Therefore, if you can't distinguish between the floor and the item, you can't see the bottom of the item, or in the case of a light on a camera frame, for the sake of argument, you can get the light to disappear just by lowering your camera. Now, this effect we labelled angle of attack, or I labelled angle of attack, it's foreshortening, but it's inducing a limitation to the angle. Now, when we first started showing that to people, they would say, and I quote, "Floor's curved." That's what they'd say. In other words, when they say level is curved, that is quite literally what they have to believe and do in order to make such statements as the table that you're moving a coin away from your camera on, and it's being obscured, in quotes, from bottom up. That's because the table isn't perfectly level. it's actually curving and you're seeing something obscure it because the table's not flat. And that's literally what they used to tell us. Shout out to Israel Jimenez, who says, McToon says, geometric triangles prove the globe. Care to speak on that? Where do they acquire one? They've got a curved surface beneath their feet. Thank you for the super chat.
That is
Geometric.
mathematical.
Nathan, there's no flat surface
Just
on
one.
the globe.
I had Brian first. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, Nathan, thank you. Yeah, that is a mathematical conversion from flat. That's after surveying has surveyed everything flat and everything put into Cartesian coordinate systems. It is then mathematically converted. It basically all zeniths that go to the center of the Cartesian coordinate systems are pre-assumed to go to the center of the WGS84 oblate spheroid mathematical globe model, and then they mathematically convert everything to sphere after all the flat measurements have been done. So that's where, when they speak about triangles having more than 180 degrees, that's complete and utter nonsense. No triangle has more than 180 degrees. So this is rubbish.
And you know why that is? Because triangles have got 3 straight lines, not 3 curves.
Yeah, indeed. They haven't got an angle to acquire for their measurements, which are done on flat surfaces, either tangent planes with assumed zenith that moves to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. Well, in order to make that presupposition based on a datum, usually if you're actually measuring it flat, I might add. Brian already mentioned it. Yeah, measuring it flat. And then after the fact, adding in an R value if you're making celestial observations, or pre-assuming that you've got a zenith that points to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, only for you to use Euclidean measurements and measure it all flat. However, to make the assumption, you'd need an R value, so any evidence thereof. Any evidence of the R value, that's Earth radius. R.
Equator. Hello.
Equator. The answer is no. There is no R value outside of the maths. That's the only place the R value is. Nothing was ever measured. It can't be, because the horizon is not geometric and sun rays are not parallel. So there are the two pre-assumptions that must be made to try and measure or calculate an R value in reality.
It was once explained.
If those two things aren't real, then you can't.
It was once explained to me by Alan that you need to assume that R, because if you don't, you can't get around the curve function collapse. So you have to assume R in the mathematics, because otherwise, if you try and observe it, you'll just experience it flat. Curve function collapse, right?
Yeah, correct. And of course, integral to that, also to the presupposition, the proof of R is, of course, the lack of imagination of what the celestial lights are, and that they can only ever be giant balls of fire and rock and dust very far away, surrounding you in globular fashion. So you would have to stand on the globe, right?
I've been told that, yeah. I lack imagination. I don't have the capacity of imagination to experience being on a ball. I have been told that as a defence once.
Wouldn't you need to know R before you could calculate how much it collapses when you observe?
Don't bring the Arwinian paradox into it. It's a different.
No, it's just that it's very easy to fall for that trick if you didn't know about terrestrial refraction, of curve function collapse, and then just looking at it, you could think that it might be the edge of the sphere you're looking at, because you didn't really understand optics, and then you're going to figure it out, and then you're going to compare it with geometry and figure out you see too far. So that means that the globe Earth must be looking flat. There's the curve that must be there is collapsing because we can see too far. So you can't measure it through optics.
But because I'm seeing it flat, but knowing that it's obviously curved, to calculate that rate of collapse, I'd still need R to work that out, wouldn't I?
Yes. Yeah, but you can still get that from the equator.
No, you can't.
That is a set
God!
length.
Somebody throttle him.
Yes.
No, you
No,
can't.
you can.
The equator's not a
It's
real
a set
thing.
length.
Oh, Adam, you deal with him.
Well, no, this is where he has to go against his own belief. So, if we're going to have that, then we are going to allow a physicality assumption bias with regards to any further assumptions we're going to make with regards to what the equator is and how we define it, yeah?
No, but he's not going to say that, is he? He's just going to go silent.
He's
What?
gone
No,
quiet,
I
I love
gotta-
it.
I was gonna say it, but I was on mute. Damn it. No, it's
Sure.
thanks. No, but the equator is based on the celestial orientations and all that, and those are pretty much fixed, and that's why the equator line, even though extracted from the celestial orientations in relation to the surface, is pretty much a set length. Doesn't change.
I'm gonna call
I have a
bullshit
question.
Arwin. 'Cause- Hang on, I'm gonna call bullshit Arwin because
I have a
I know that
question.
Arwin's never on mute.
Okay, go ahead, Chocolate. Yeah, fine. Yeah, I agree. That was a stony silence in the same way we get them from the Globers. Go ahead, Chocolate.
I've just
Wishful
got one
thinking.
last point on this physicality assumption bias, Owen. We're going to, you say to define this, we're then going to use shadows.
Yes.
Yeah. When we're defining the equator, what are we looking for, shadow or no shadow?
Yeah, we are looking for shadow, but also just average shadow, right? It's the shadow over the years.
Well, no, I thought we're trying to define the point of GP, aren't we? We're trying to position the point where there would be no shadow. So your point of measurement is to observe nothing.
Well, no, not necessarily, right? Because the sun angle always changes throughout the year. So you got to take the average middle position, the
So I've got
average
to-
of it all.
So I've got to get something, pre-assume it's on something, then subtract it from the pre-assumption to give me nothing, which will give me the point of where it would be. But I can't add that point because the only way you can measure it is with a shadow, and we're trying to get a point of no shadow to mark the GP, yeah?
Well, when you say it like that, it doesn't sound very glorious. But
Yeah, I'll say
yeah.
it better. So it's a begging the question fallacy wrapped up in a paradox and then sold to you. No, he hasn't given you an alternative. That's it. It's a begging the question fallacy wrapped up in a
Right.
paradox.
Yeah, and then you sell it to obligations, which split it up into 100 packages, send it around the world, and it's gone. And it's gone.
Yeah. The point is, you've got to get
Are
as
we
far,
into-
you've got to stick as many steps in as possible from the reification. That was the one I was looking for. So it's a paradox with a reification and a begging the question fallacy. But when you get to the reification part, you've got to make as many steps as possible between the fact that you can't actually measure the thing that you're starting with at the assumption. So you need to put lots of distinct steps with disclaimers at the beginning. But the mistake that Arwin's still making, or Baldwin is still making, is he's not putting the disclaimer in at the start as a defense when it's actually a concession. So, for example, when you were like halfway through your blurb, you said, well, it's derived from the averages when he asked you about whether or not you're getting it from the shadow or the lack thereof. Well, you should have started with that. No, it's derived from the averages, you idiot, would have been even better. And then you move on with your bullshit afterwards, after you've put the dirty detail out first and an ad hom.
Yeah, but you're trying to put rumpus protocols in my shoes. I don't need to go dirty because I know I'm right.
That's dirty in itself. Let's move on with housekeeping. Any evidence of axial rotation, as there's no evidence of R beyond a long-winded segue between mathematical assumptions, reifications, and paradoxes. Axial rotation of the Earth-based variety. Anybody at all?
The lockstep motion of the air.
Wouldn't give you any deviation to claim Coriolis.
But Earth spin, though.
So you're going to assume Earth spinning, and we're not seeing any effect because the atmosphere, sphere-shaped air, is moving along with it at a varying rate with altitude. Yeah, that's just nonsense.
Right. Because at certain altitude, it's spinning with the rotation, and in another altitude, it's spinning against it. It makes perfect sense.
No, it's a first law of thermodynamics violation. So in order for you to, if you instead of air, if you picture it with a helicopter, right? So you say, okay, the air's moving in lockstep. Now, the only reason you're going to be told this by a fundy globe-believing idiot is because they're getting around the fact that we don't see any natural Coriolis effect. There's no deviation to observe. They only claim it with gyros and pendulums and other such man-made devices. So there's no natural drift. There's no Coriolis to prove we're spinning. So when we get to that point, the Globy says, no, the reason we don't have any Coriolis drift to prove we're spinning is because the Earth moves, that's an assumption, a begging the question fallacy, with the atmosphere, therefore there's no effect to observe. I don't see the effect because there's no effect to observe, but I still assume it's spinning with the air itself. Right, so now we're at the stage where instead of air, just substitute for a helicopter for visual ease. The helicopter goes up. Now, if it's to continue hovering above the exact same spot, it must, as it increases its altitude, increase its velocity with relation to the ground beneath. Because your circumference, the overall distance that you will travel, increases on a sphere as you raise in altitude. Now, that would mean that you'd have to increase the energy from the system that you're describing with a helicopter in relation to it hovering on the ground, and therefore create energy out of nowhere for it to do so. It's a first law of thermodynamics violation. Not to mention the fact that when we move back away from the helicopter example, which is the only way to give it enough physicality to make the example to show the first law violation, when you get to the air moving in lockstep, air's unbonded. Completely unbonded to itself, not bonded to anything, separate in all respects. So how's it travelling with the ground when it's not even bonded to itself? Gas particles are unbonded, so they're not moving in lockstep with anything. One of their fundamental principles is that they're unbonded. But yet bonded to the ground moving? No.
Well, maybe the space is bending with it. Maybe it's the space that's turning and not actually the material, and that's why the gas easily moves lockstep, because it's in another reference frame. Like
Reference
another
frames are
spatial reference
descriptions.
frame.
They're not
Due to
actual
space-time
places.
bending, right? Same cause
No.
of gravity?
No. Describing something from a reference frame to give it some sort of language-based description doesn't make a reference frame a physical place for you to invent a space dimension, which is basically where you're going with this, so I can already detect it. Right? You're going to put it in a space dimension that doesn't exist, aren't you?
No. Now, the space dimension would be the cause of literal Euclidean space
Oh, bloody hell. Here we go.
changing its orientation in relation to other Euclidean space surrounding it.
Any evidence? Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No. There's no
Quickly
way.
move on, right? Quickly move
what's
on
that?
after my devastating argument.
Oh my
Devastating.
God.
Nonsense. Right, okay. If you're going to try and introduce Euclidean versus Einsteinian pseudo-4 space, which is where you're going with this and you know it, then...
Oh, no, it wasn't.
What do you mean, no? Okay. Carry on your explanation. Go ahead, Owen.
Yay! We won! It's a globe!
Me giving you permission to actually back your nonsense that was going to inevitably end in pseudo-4 space, an imaginary dimension that you're going to have moving along with the air moving with it, but you're not being able to detect it, or it violate a first law because it's taking place in pseudo-4 space. Yeah, I know where you're going to go.
Well, almost, though. Almost. It was going to feed back eventually to pseudo-Riemannian 4 space, because that's the origin of the idea. That's where gravity comes from. That's what allows the gas pressure to stay in the container.
See, that was perfect. See, that, in response to me...
No, but this was space itself.
And now,
like
now he
the
won't
real
stop.
space in
You see,
3D
now he's got it
came
pegged.
because of it.
He's got it
He's
pegged
got
now.
to carry on now, Nathan.
Yeah, now he'll carry on.
Exactly.
Exactly. Once,
Absolutely brilliant.
when I would be at the point where I would absolutely be justified in interrupting and saying, no, your opening statement there, Arwin, as a baller, is perfect. Because you're begging the question, making it in a firm, authoritative manner, even though you're technically declaring a loss. Yes, I am going to take it to 4 space that doesn't exist, is a mathematical reification, but you said it with such aggression that it seemed like it was almost an attack, like a winning
Nathan,
position to take.
I heard him get in that gravity contains gas pressure on a ball Earth.
It was his opening statement. You heard to get it in. Yeah, that's because there was a lot of waffle afterwards, but that was his opening statement.
I thought I was muted and I could give you a round of applause.
Because you all started to overtalk me. Those things.
Top
and not
points.
actually
10 points extra given for moaning about us interrupting and detailing to the audience how we'd be explaining the fallacy when we interrupted and then got told off for it by our opponent, who is so wronged in this scenario, like Arwin is now, right? You're so wronged and we just talked through you. Top marks. Bravo. Ball win, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen.
Applaud for myself.
Applaud for Baldwin. What Arwin has now got the skill to do is replicate every scummy, dirty tactic that is required to defend the globe. He can do it perfectly now.
Right, but I'd like to leave out the ad homs, though. I don't think it's necessary.
No, I think it is for them. Because when you're
but not
making a
for me.
declaration that's actually a concession with an aggressive tone to make it seem like it's an argument in defense of your position rather than a concession, then when the person tries to interrupt and point out that you telling me that pseudo force space is going to be the reason gas pressure's held here, at the moment you hear that response coming through, you need to start interrupting and crying foul that you were interrupted.
Yes.
Shout out to Godzilla37, says Baldwin is my favourite baller. Sometimes he can push it a bit too far, he gets too into character and doesn't actually shut up when the point needs to be made. But other than that, he's 90% there. Thank you for the super chat, Godzilla. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Not to date.
And we'll get past looking at stuff.
No.
Oh, too bad then. But why not? I mean, it should be easy, right?
Well, they've got plenty of phenomena to study, so yeah, you would think they'd have something. They'd at least try. Instead, they just decided to redefine science. Any evidence that... Go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, well, according to Brian Cox, they have the retrograde motion of Mars, I think. I heard him say in a video. I don't know if that's a hypothesis, though.
What, he made Mars move backwards in an experiment?
Retrograde motion?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he did that much.
What part
That's
of it
what
did
would
he
be
fit
required, isn't it? If he's going to claim science and he's going to talk about movement of Mars, then that surely is what you want to be manipulating. If that's
he hovered it backwards.
Okay, I'm not even sure retrograde motion counts as a phenomena.
Well, did he make it do it? Did he give Mars a good spin?
Can we call it its proper name? Can we call it apparent retrograde motion?
Correct. Apparent retrograde motion. What does apparent mean, Anthony?
Not real, not actual.
Not actual
Like
motion.
gravity.
It's not actual motion. So
Well,
anybody here
seeming
that
motion.
can concisely or succinctly describe what retrograde actually is? If not, I'll do it.
It's kind of like Coriolis effect, right?
No, not at all. Totally different.
Okay.
It's, well, what it is and what it's
Hello?
presupposed and what we can prove it is are very different things.
I just want. I'll just do it. For
Is it from the
consistency.
60s or 70s?
Just for consistency, I'm just going to tell the audience what retrograde is. They may not know. May have heard the term, but not realise what is actually being described. If you imagine the night sky to be a plate with a pattern of dots on it, and you turn the plate throughout the night, right? The following day, when you see the pattern re-emerge into the night sky, one of those lights will be slightly further back in its cyclical pattern than it was before. So it's moved back in relation to the rest of the stars as they concisely, as they move together in lockstep. Yeah? But the following night, it'll be moved back again in relation to the rest of the stars. That's retrograde motion. Yeah?
Right.
Well, that's...
So then it is kind of like Coriolis effect because it's an apparent change. Even though there's real changes happening, the way you see it, it's kind of like the wheel of a car spinning really fast. Like sometimes it spins so fast that suddenly it seems like it's turning the other way around. That's retrograde motion too,
No, it
right?
isn't. Anyway, right. My point was that would you like...
The ball Earth can't work. The ball Earth can't work at all whatsoever.
Would you call it a phenomena? I'm going to ask Adam. I wouldn't call that. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, is that a phenomena? Phenomenon.
See, I was going the other way. I'm making excuses that it is. Because it's
Yeah.
repeatable
I
and
would-
observable, I would put it into the class that it is. In the first time, it's just something weird, but no, it's predictable. It happens, and it's different, but it's predictable. So I'd probably say, yeah. Does that mean we can science it? No, but does it make it a phenomenon? Yeah, I think.
The ball Earth can't work at all in general. It just can't work.
What can't
Well,
work?
I don't dispute that. But
Yeah, it can't work. It doesn't function properly. It can't function properly.
What's it? Be more specific.
What I mean is, how do I say this? One, the rotation and all this movement that we supposedly have, it can't work at all. We'd all be dead. We'd all be dead. There's 100-mile winds that have literally blown people into the air. It's literally on video. So it's just like, it just doesn't make sense.
Okay, but in regards
And then
to
on top of that, there's a giant snake circling the flat Earth. So the whole model just goes out the window.
What?
Okay, but
There's a giant snake circling the flat Earth. You want to see it?
What?
No thanks.
Yeah. You guys ever seen that flat Earth map where there's a snake circling it? There's a flat Earth map. You can look it
You
up.
don't mean like
That's
oceanic
isn't it?
dragons, right?
Oh,
You don't mean ocean monsters?
No. I mean, there's a giant. Do you want me to post up the picture?
Yeah, stick it in Discord live stream. Someone will pick up on it. But
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in the main chat. Yeah, there's a giant snake
sorry.
circling the flat Earth. Here, I'll show you.
We'll check it out. But
Okay.
at the moment, we're in the midst of trying to figure out if there's any viable hypothesis from any of the fields that have lied to us about astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics, right? And we're saying, or I'm saying, is retrograde motion actually a phenomena? So Adam's gone yes. I'm saying no. But if you're going to say yes, I'm going to challenge you to describe what is the phenomena.
I would say it's a phenomena within a phenomena, but we don't know what the first phenomena is. So is it a phenomena? If we found out what
let Brian finish. Brian's going somewhere. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, if we found out what the first phenomena was, which is what the sky is and what the stars are, then it may not be a phenomena because that might tell us that.
Right.
But it was a phenomena after that, maybe.
Right. In other words, if you're going to say it's a phenomena, well, the lights appearing and disappearing and then following through their cycle, I'd call that a phenomena in the first instance, which is what Brian's saying is the first phenomena. And then after that, if you figured out what that was, you could go on to say what within the cycle that we're calling a phenomena because it appears and disappears in the night sky, what's that cycle doing within that phenomena? But you can't until you figure out what the bloody hell it is in the first place. And we haven't got the slightest idea. We're told they're rocks in orbit. So what we're going to do from here is go, okay, these lights in the sky that we don't know what they are, we just know they've got a cycle. We're going to figure out a particular detail about the cycle. There's no need. Why is it a contentious point then? Well, because it doesn't work properly, right? When you assume you're on a sphere. So it's suddenly a problem. Suddenly it's a phenomena that needs sciencing. Is it? All right, it's slightly further back tonight. Oh yeah, that's fascinating. So what? Who cares? Oh right, that's a problem
Right.
if you assume you're on a sphere and that we're falling around the sun and that the sun's at the centre of our world and that the lights in the sky have got other lights moving around them also falling because they're giant masses in this mathematical reification of pseudo force space. I see. And when I do all of those assumptive things, suddenly there's a problem with it. Who cares?
Okay, I
I'd
posted
like
the
to
pictures up
concede the
on the
point
main
to
chat.
Brian, if I could.
I
Thank you
posted
very
the
much.
pictures up on the main chat. So if you guys want to look at the giant snake circling the Earth, there you go.
Well,
I moved
There's
them
more
on
of
Skype.
them.
nonsense in a minute.
I
Pound
moved
says,
them on Skype, Nathan, for you.
thank you very much. Pound says
I'm
it's
not
not a
sure
flat Earth
what-
map. Pound says it's not a flat Earth map.
What it is, Nathan, is some imagery where as part of the where are we? Part of the Atlantic, southern Atlantic, where the tip of South America meets the supposed tip of Antarctica in the that region that's changed on the old maps. Part of the underwater land mass appears to from some angles look a bit like a snake's head. I suppose you could look in the clouds and say similar sort of things. It's one of those.
Body is on the earth.
Looks,
Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's a
killed
bit of
it.
a Joey-eyed snake, if I'm being honest. One eye's looks like he's been in a fight, but probably might explain why he's dumped at the bottom of the sea in South America.
Oh yeah. He was alive. Just letting you know that he was alive. He got killed.
Okay.
Okay, we've got a bit of lava going on. We might segue this. Check it out. Any
Oh, that
evidence of it?
thing from the Yggdrasil picture.
Ugh.
Yep.
Eh.
You want to see Yggdrasil?
Ugh.
I got that photo. I got this picture on my computer for 5 years. So.
And
You
any
want to
evidence
see?
of South-
You want to see the tree that got cut down?
We just
Yeah,
continue.
it was on the flat Earth.
Thanks.
It was on the flat Earth. It got cut down. You want to see?
Okay, well, can you show me where this giant mountain is sticking out for like 100 kilometers?
It's symbolic, Arwen, isn't it?
I know.
That's the Norse. Is the one you're talking about the Norse Asgard Midgard picture?
Yeah, Asgard was real.
Yeah.
It was a real
Yeah,
place.
so that's a symbolic snake, isn't it? It's not a real snake, is it? It's supposedly.
No, it's a real snake.
Isn't
You want
that
to see?
supposed
You want to see the leaves?
to
The leaves are like
No,
1,500
it's-
feet long.
the magnetic field?
It's the
If
dragon.
you just leave
of-
other people
boundary.
talk when they're
It's the
talking.
I think it should be
guardian of
12
the
people
portal to
talking.
the
Maybe
north.
5 more people talking on top of Adam. And who is it that was talking in Discord? Skeptic?
From my understanding, that is symbolic. If you go and reference Martin Leake, who back a couple of years goes.
No, this was in the days of Noah. Basically, what happens
No,
is there was
I'll stop talking
before
then, shall I?
before the flood. This is what the world was like. There was a giant tree.
Could you let Adam finish, brother? Could you let Adam
Okay.
finish? Thanks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say with reference and go and look at that. It seems to be a symbolic thing which is supposed to represent the magnetic field, I think, in this instance, and that's the thing generated by the big tree in the middle. I don't think it's a literal thing of a giant snake. It was, I'd say, representative of that.
I know what I see. I see its body, so
Magnetics.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Okay, you've said that 5 times. What's the significance, though?
Oh no, this is where atheists go when they die. Yeah, this snake. Basically, you know how people like to say hell is under the earth and stuff like that? Well, Jesus said that this snake right here, he puts atheists inside the snake to be tortured if they don't turn to him.
Okay.
Cool.
So this is where people go.
Okay, well, what it makes me think of is the dragon of the North Sea. There's supposed to be this guardian towards the realm to the north and the edge of the world, right? Have you ever seen Eric the Viking? It roughly uses that.
Sounds like
So that's what this snake reminds me about. It's the guardian of the north, the land to the north, the magnetic mountain. Who knows? It could be symbol for actual people in the know protecting it, right? The people always ending up eating their own tails. The dark ones.
You know,
Maybe
it's a real
they-
snake.
secondary
Jesus Christ-
meaning, Arwen.
It's in the
which
text.
is-
Jesus
which
Christ
is
said
the
so.
self-eating snake, which is the symbology of the ever-repeating cycles of life, which is often used in ancient stuff as well, where the snake is consuming its own tail. That's representative of continued cycles.
It's representative of a lot of things.
Yeah.
The only thing I can see in this that wants me to move it back with the segue to housekeeping is the molten iron core. So we've got pipes going down to Sheol or somewhere similar. Who knows? But any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core, equally as absurd.
Absolutely not.
Dude,
You mean the core of the earth, Nathan?
Yeah,
no, we don't have a
basically.
molten iron core. We have a wood core.
Well,
Just
that's
look at
what's
the
on
picture.
screen, right?
The
That's why I brought it
core
up.
of the earth doesn't exist. The core of the earth does not exist. It's imaginary.
Well,
Fairy
it's
tale.
depicted in this picture, though. This has got a root system underneath the volcano.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has. It's a tree. It has to have a root system.
Yeah, so let me get it straight, Skeptic. You're saying molten
You want
iron
to see
core.
You want to see where the roots got cut?
I'd like to finish a sentence. You're saying molten iron
Sorry.
core absurd, but tree underneath a volcano. Yeah, it's got to be.
Well, maybe
You wanna see it?
volcanoes
What?
are like
Win.
waterways for
Hello?
the giant tree.
Hello? Asking the guy who
And oil
presented
is
the
here.
image. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm here. I'm listening.
I'm just saying, I understand it. I could easily side with you and go, yeah, molten iron core is absolutely absurd. Give a load of P-wave,
No,
S-wave
because I'm not trying to. I'm not
I
trying to
would quite
contradict
like to
you.
get to the end of this
I'm agreeing
sentence as
with you.
well. That would be nice if I could finish this sentence too. Thank you. So, yes, I could side with you and say, yeah, molten iron core absurd. But then when I follow that up with a picture like this and say, yeah, it's got to be, you're going to get someone like me saying, well, why? Why is this got to be and molten iron core is absurd? I know why molten iron core is absurd, but when I present anything, or anybody presents anything with this being symbolic or anything, you're like, no, I don't get it.
That would be to you, buddy.
Oh no, I already said I agree.
Okay.
I don't think he's making a scientific
I'm very
claim.
simple. I'm not. I don't overcomplicate things. So you're not going to hear like a lot of how do I say this? A lot of oh well, you know, this against this or this. No, I agree.
Well, okay, fair enough. I'll just do a quick shout out and then chaos can commence again, no doubt. Multi-Tom, thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Welcome back, Nathan and the gang. You are all ace. Wow, thank you very much. Shout out to flat earthers all over the globe. Indeed. Thank you very much, Multi-Tom. I like your wording. Yeah, we're all flat earthers. It's just a lot of us have got a mental construct that's spherical. Never mind.
Yeah, pretty much.
Any evidence of gas pressure being able to have pressure without containment?
No, but there is containment. Just look at the picture. See, it's a container. Even the branches climb up against it.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
Don't take the Lord's
Nathan,
name
you're
in vain.
rusty, boy.
Don't blaspheme. A gas pressure without a
Without the
container.
balloon, there could be no pressure.
Did you like
They
my?
said that, didn't they?
Did you like
I
my?
would like the question asked again.
Any evidence of gas pressure without a container?
Yeah,
Nope.
the old Nathan.
No, it's the container that actually causes the gas pressure. It causes the gas to press. Without the container, the gas cannot press. Cannot create
Chocolate.
the pressure.
Chocolate quoted a famous baller that addressed that issue. I think it was Katz, wasn't it? And he addressed that issue. Didn't reach a conclusion, but what he did say is that, you know, without the balloon, there can be no pressure. You know, so they've addressed it. Just don't want to face the reality of knowing the consequence of the second law.
It's the source of a lot of pain for a lot of them. Obviously, about
The vacuum would.
Go on.
The vacuum would rip the atmosphere off, and we would all die. It's really
Yeah, you
that
got to be
simple.
careful with
That's
your
all.
The vacuum
phraseology.
wouldn't do that at all.
You've got to be
Well,
careful with your
this is a
phraseology.
misnomer.
So when you say the vacuum
Mm.
would rip the atmosphere off, well, number one, you've given.
Yeah, if outer space was real, the vacuum
My
would just
bad.
rip
This
the
sentence
atmosphere. We
definitely
would all
doesn't
be
need.
dead.
This
instantly.
sentence doesn't need more than 4 words, I'm sure. You've got a bit of an
You're
issue,
being
mate, when
annoying,
people are
whoever the frick
talking.
you are.
Now Neil's got the same affliction. So when you say the vacuum would rip the atmosphere off, that's a very bad phrasing because, number one, you're giving them an air that's sphere-shaped in the form of atmosphere. So you're already giving them that. And you're saying the vacuum would rip it off, which implies that the vacuum's doing some work, which it isn't. It's just an available volume for the gas to fill. As soon as you say that,
because there's literally a truck.
as soon
They
as you say
literally
that, it
made a
opens up
vacuum in
me
a
to be
truck, and if
interrupted
we
on the
can crush
conclusion.
it,
The useful bit
So,
doesn't need
if
to
it
be
can
heard.
crush a
I would
steel
say that
truck,
the most
it can
useful
pull
bit of this
air.
statement needs you to talk through it. The guy who's made the fuckwit statement, perhaps you should talk through the useful bit that you can actually listen to, and maybe not make the same stupid, idiotic mistake where you let them tell you that gas and vacuums don't suck, which is what you'll have some baller tell you. That useful bit, I think you should interrupt that. Don't say that the vacuum would rip the gas off. The gas would fill the space, because that's what gas does. Gas moves at high speeds into any available volume, and all a vacuum is an availability of volume. So it's not going to rip anything. It's not going to do anything. It can't. It's just a space that's non-existent.
No, it's gonna rip it off.
my
Dude,
God.
are you
I'm
paying
simple.
attention to what's being said to you?
That's okay, Chocolate. Let's play baller. Sorry, do you appreciate that vacuums don't suck? They don't do anything.
I have a vacuum right here. It sucks all the time.
That's
Use
a
it to clean my
mechanical
floor.
device. That's not a vacuum in physics terms. A vacuum is an availability of volume in these terms, not a machine that sucks up dust from your carpet.
No, every time I see a vacuum, it pulls pressure. That's why it can destroy a steel truck.
It creates a
'Cause
pressure
it pulls.
differential.
It's on video, so no one can deny that. Anyone who denies that is retarded. It's on video. It's on YouTube. Steel rail car versus vacuum. So that's what ends up happening.
Vacuums don't do anything. All you're doing is removing the air from a container, and then the pressure around the container is crushing it because there's nothing to resist it. But the empty void that's left didn't do any of that work. It didn't pull the container inwards. That's not how it
That
works.
was a steel rail car versus air pressure.
Exactly. But you're just opening yourself up to be ridiculed by a baller who says vacuums don't suck. Because they don't.
And what
Right,
vacuum?
gas presses, but it only presses because
Well, you need to
it has
understand.
a
I come from a
container
different point of
surrounding it.
view. I don't believe in science like you guys. So
This isn't science.
I'm completely different.
Science
talking about?
doesn't
This isn't
require
science.
belief, my friend.
This isn't science.
Huh?
This isn't science.
Yeah, you're talking to someone that's completely different. I don't have the same mindset you guys have, and that's pretty obvious. You can tell just by the pictures.
Ugh.
How about logic? How about logic? You abide by logic?
No, I go by the word of God.
Okay.
No? You
Well,
abide by the word of God? What?
Okay, then.
Hold on, so do I, and you sound like a meatball.
Why are we getting a picture from Norse mythology then?
A meatball.
Yeah, because it's in the Bible. It talks about all this stuff in the Bible. It talks
Midgard
about
and
Yggdrasil.
Asgard.
Really?
Not in the Bible.
Is guards?
Yeah,
Yggdrasil?
Yggdrasil's in the Bible. You want to see the verses?
Oh, where? What's the paragraph?
Daniel 4:11 through 15, and then Ezekiel 31.
Cool. What does it say?
The tree grew and was strong, and its height reached unto the dome, and the sight thereof to the ends of all the earth. And an angel, a watcher, came down, and he said, Cut down the tree, cut off its branches, and shake off its leaves, but nevertheless leave the stump of the tree's roots on the earth. And then in Ezekiel 31, it literally says that the shade of the tree covered all nations, meaning America, Canada, every single nation.
Nations, you say?
Meaning specifically
what tree,
America.
America? I didn't know the nation of America.
Oh, God, it
existed.
sounds like PJ.
Yeah, but there is something to it, though. And if he actually got that
I
from the Bible, I still don't see the name Yggdrasil or Isengard. Isgard. I don't hear about that, right? But yeah.
No.
There might have been a big key.
For the snake, you need to go to a book called the Epistis of Sophia, chapter 126,
Well,
where
that's
Jesus
not,
talks
the
about.
Pistis of Sophia is not biblical. That's apocryphal, isn't it? And it's not.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter by what
It
you
doesn't
do.
Whatever
matter.
comes out of the mouth of Jesus, it's true.
I'm done. Let Adam have his
Fantastic
way with
book,
him.
the
Go ahead,
Pistis
Adam.
Sophia.
Go ahead.
The Pistis
Trying to
Sophia
find out
is-
where this tree is at.
Yeah, is an exceptionally long book, which is in great opposition to a lot of biblical understanding. In its most fundamental, it's a Nag Hammadi text, which really is about gnosis, not so much about Christianity. It would deny Christianity, the Pistis Sophia, in that it defies most vehemently Jehovah being what they would describe in the Pistis Sophia as the Demerge. So fundamentally and most oppositionally not biblical, in great opposition.
No. Once you take the flat Earth route, it literally becomes literal. He literally says,
It's
"Look,
not
there's a
what you
giant
say,
snake."
though,
He
dude.
says
You
it
just-
in Epistis of Sophia, chapter
Conflate
126.
two
It's
very
the first
different
one.
theologies.
So it's one of those things. Not just that, the sun and moon are discs.
Oh, what?
You're not going to
The sun
address
and
what I
moon are
just said.
discs.
You're conflating two very, very different theologies. If you're
No,
linking
it's in the
Pistis
Epistis of
Sophia,
Sophia. Jesus
and
said
its
so.
full description of how things come to be and where it places Jehovah compared to biblical. That's a very fundamental differential. One, he is the creator of everything. The other, he is an errant emanation, as the Sophia calls them.
No, look, based off what I've seen with my studies, I'm just going to break this down real simple.
I'm just talking
The
about what's in
Bible
the
is
book
basic.
that you quoted.
I'm going to explain this in my way. The Bible is basically the basic simplification of the history of what happened. Okay, it basically simplifies it in a more simple term, even though it is kind of hard to understand sometimes because when you're young. But these other ancient texts
Not on
give
for me.
way more detail about what's going on. So I don't
is,
deny
is
these other
Jehovah
ancient
the
texts. I read
Demerge
them.
or the creator of everything? I think that
What?
really places where you place the two texts relevantly. Is Jehovah, the Demerge,
Yeah,
or
what
is
about
the
him?
creator of everything? Is
What
he
about Yahweh?
the original?
Yeah, you chose to.
Say it again?
You chose to spoke through his question, asking him what about him while he was telling you, so you didn't hear.
Yeah, say it again.
I asked you, where do you then place God, Jehovah, the biblical God? Do you place him as the creator of everything, the original source, or do you place him as the Demerge, an emanation that thought he was God and went mad? And that's what the Pistis Sophia
Oh, no.
describes
He's the
Jehovah
top
as.
of the ladder. All these other gods are fallen angels. Okay, Allah, fallen angel. The diva, Shiva, fallen
That's
angel.
not what he's asking.
Odin, fallen
Hello?
angel.
Hello.
Okay,
He's
Zeus, fallen angel.
hello. That's not his point. His point is the two
Mhm.
different texts you're quoting describe the two completely differently. And if you're saying, well, no, it's like, well, okay, but you've used a text that does use it in that context.
Yeah, what about it?
Well, which is correct?
The
Sophia or the Bible?
Both.
No, they can't both be. They have very opposing positions.
No, they don't. It's just once I started to read it, like at first it didn't make much
Guys,
sense,
I
and then
don't
it
want this
finally
to go on
clicked
all
in my
day.
head.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Hello. He's
Oh,
just
gosh.
explained 4 times the differences between the two. So please don't just hand wave him and go, no, they're not fundamentally opposed, even though he's just literally detailed 4 times how they're fundamentally opposed. Don't just hand wave
No,
it.
Jesus
That's
speaks
annoying.
about all this. They go together. This
Oh,
isn't like
God.
something
So
of, like, they
literally,
don't
I've
go-
just
they go
told you,
together.
don't just hand wave the 4-time rendition of how they're fundamentally opposed and say, no, they're not, as a hand wave dismissal. That's going to be annoying to Adam. It's getting annoying to me. I don't even care.
Okay, here. All right, let me go over a few details. Do you know the
No,
circuits that are in your
what
body
about
that
the
Jesus
placement
spoke
of
about?
My
Christ
friend,
in all of this?
hold on,
It has
Adam,
a
hold on.
fundamental
Okay, now
difference.
Hold on,
I'm
Adam,
gonna
hold on.
connect it. I'm gonna
My
connect
friend,
it.
hello,
I'm gonna
hello,
connect it.
hello. What you need to do for this to stop being irritating is acknowledge one of the 4 renditions where Adam detailed how they're fundamentally opposed, rather than just hand-waving it and then blabbing through everybody. So this isn't going to move on. It's annoying, because you're not conceding his point that he had to repeat 4 times, with you asking, yeah, how are they different through him, so you didn't get to hear the question. Very irritating. Now that it's come 4 times, you just have to acknowledge it. Not hand-wave it and say, no, they're completely compatible, when it's been detailed 4 times how they're not.
I can show how they're compatible. You want me to show it?
Could you acknowledge his assertions in regards to Yahweh? His question was specific. It detailed how they were opposed. Could you address that? Rather than ignoring it and moving
they're
on to a
opposed in
totally
the sense that
or
they're
talking
enemies.
through me while
The
I
story
detail
is
for
the
the
same.
3rd time that you haven't acknowledged his point.
They're opposed in the sense that they're enemies, but the story is pretty much true.
They're fundamentally different in terms of their point of view. That's the 4th time.
No, because where do you think some of these Bible verses came from? They come from the Epistis of Sophia. There's a few verses in the Bible that come from the Epistis of Sophia.
And
I can connect them.
Sorry, Adam, can you detail your point for a 5th time?
Yeah. So within the creation story in the Bible, Jehovah is the original source God. Within the Pistis Sophia, there are many emanations, and it goes into great detail to describe these emanations of how God set up the universe first. And one of these things, one of the emanations is Christ, and one of them is Sophia. Sophia wanders off into the darkness, okay, and she emanates a being called Jehovah. And Jehovah, in the darkness, away from Christ, starts to believe, without this love, that he is God, and he creates his own universe. He's called the Demerge within the Sophia, and this is the universe that the people or the writers of the Pistis Sophia believe we exist in, the demerged creation. This is why they have such a apocalyptic view of the world, these people, because the point is to escape the demerged creation and go back to the original God, and that's part of why Christ comes in their story.
Oh no! What you're talking about is when you talk about Sophia, you're talking about the Holy Spirit.
No, I'm not talking about the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit's separate to that.
There's a debate going on the internet where some people think the Holy Spirit might be female.
That's not
because God created man in His image.
Dude.
Some people are taking
background research. You're just vaguely tying together things, right? I understand now why you said before that you weren't burdened by logic.
Okay, well, there's a bit of audio chaos. The only bit I want to read out from the chat is from Paula, Level Up. She says, no, the Bible does not get material from Gnostic works.
It's female. It's a female spirit.
It reached my audience, Paula.
I've been very quiet through all of this. Thank you, Paula.
Just trying to find out where this tree is at.
In my backyard.
You're standing on it.
I'm coming over.
We're all standing on the giant tree roots. That's the idea of it.
Don't tell me you haven't enjoyed Skeptic's Impulse. Come on, he's been a proper character.
Yeah, I know I'm an interesting person.
You are. I'll grant you
And
that.
very rumpusy.
A bit rumpusy.
You will just keep talking.
Nothing wrong with being a bit rumpusy.
Oh, welcome to the show, buddy.
Indeed. Did we make it all the way through housekeeping? I think we did.
No, we did not.
Did we not?
Is there any evidence of a distance to the sun?
We did.
It's over there. I can see it.
Did we not do that? I thought we did. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over there.
No.
What is the sun?
Right there.
I have an estimate.
An estimate, eh?
Oh,
yeah,
no.
It's a guess. I'm not going to be like, hey, this is 100% fact. This is a guess.
You just told us it's an estimate, so we're already in the know on that score, so go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not going to state this as fact, all right? But based off, it's like 11 to 40 miles high. That's it.
What is it exactly?
I wouldn't disagree with that.
It's 3 AUs.
Oh.
3 Arwinian
What is
units.
the sun?
Arwinian units.
Nathan, what is the sun?
Yeah, what is it?
All I know is it's a disc. Other than that, like, nothing much more. It gives off heat. Honestly, it just sounds like a damn lamp. It just sounds like a damn lamp.
You don't know. He's a good enough answer.
I'm okay with not knowing everything. I'm not God.
Go on, Arwin.
We can agree there.
Before you round out, Nath, there was one bit earlier on in the questions where we were talking about retrograde motion. Me and Riley's been churning through some of the anti-Ethereum device stuff, just looking at different reasons. But with regards to describing that retrograde motion, it was quite interesting that with simple geometry, which is basically two circles, they can mimic this within the anti-Ethereum device. It uses it, predicts it. It's very simple the way they did this. There's none of these complex assumptions. They take what they see, which is a rotating disk of the sky field above. That's one. And then with regards to the planetas, the wandering stars, they put another simple circle that it rotates around. And that's what gives you the exact measurements through the anti-Ethereum mechanism, which is basically another roundabout on top of the big roundabout. And that describes the motion of the planetas perfectly.
Can Anthony
Can I ask
maybe
you a question?
remind? Can Anthony just remind us what the anti-Ethereum mechanism is?
It's an artifact from antiquity, from the ancient Greeks. It was found around about the time of Eratosthenes, but it was made of bronze, and they don't know when it was made. So they assume that based on it being bronze, given that bronze is potentially capable of being indefinite, they don't know when it was made, but they know when it was found. And it is a mechanism that is taken from Earth's perspective, looking into the night sky, observing the lights of the sky moving across our path. And it calculates the metonic cycle over a 19-year period and gives us the predictive capabilities of the eclipses that the ball earthers claim comes from the heliocentric model. It doesn't. It comes from the Antikythera mechanism, which is a geocentric position where we can observe the night sky.
Thank you. Antiquitech is the latest and greatest terminology. Check out Martin Liedtke. His channel is still under that name, isn't it? Martin Liedtke, Liedtke. So check him out. Good friend of mine. But Martin covers a lot of old history, oldest photos he can find, and covers the technology that appears to be in them. Obviously, he speculates. Very different to this show. Just warning you that in advance. Very popular as well. Bloody hell. You see how well Martin's doing?
Yeah, he's smashing it. A lot
Absolutely.
of interest in Tartaria and all of the things that he covers. It's, like I say, a very different subject, but they're still overlaid, because the point of what he's highlighting is that history is a lie, which is not a very small part. And it does overlap, because the way in which the history is a lie and the times in which the ball is brought in, supposedly, even the history of when the ball's brought in is clearly a lie. So there is a bit of overlap, and he is still known as Flat Earth British. So
Fascinating stuff. I remember him before his channel got stolen.
Indeed, he was a victim of a scammer getting hold of his channel, but he's built up back to easily as popular as he was. I think his second channel's called Flat Earth British Think Tank, where he occasionally will live stream from. But sometimes I've seen Martin with 1,000 live viewers. That's
I think
nuts.
the thing about it is that sorry, you're about to close out. I
No,
think
no,
the thing
go
about
ahead.
it is that he's what he's doing is interesting. So you don't have to be a flat earther to be interested in it. So that's why I reckon his audiences are pretty big.
Oh, well, he definitely gets promoted. So Martin slipped his way through the algorithm, lucky bastard, and does actually make his way onto homepages. So I'll often find myself watching Martin because it's been recommended to me. You know, the chances of me finding someone like Rachie are pretty slim, but the chances of any normal person coming, you know, just happening to stumble across Martin because they've looked up a bit of old history or something, and then next thing you know, you're being recommended Martin. That does happen. That, and he gets a lot of well-deserved shout-outs. You know, he's a good YouTuber, Martin. He's, you know, I'm glad he's doing well. He deserves it. Very interesting channel. Martin Liedtke, Liedtke. Check it out today. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lucky day!